Undoubtedly, the name Jay-Z has made a notable impact not just in the entertainment industry but also in the business world. Jay-Z has become a worldwide force to reckon with, and rightly so. Through the years, it took way more than diligence, perseverance, and knowing that he was meant to become one of the world's greatest. This expository takes us through the life of the famous Jay-Z. It expounds on who Jay-Z was before the fame and highlights stories, how he was able to stack up his fame and leverage it, and of course, a bit of tiny juicy details that has cast a bit of shadow on his name and personality over the years. But who exactly is Jay-Z? The name Jay-Z. While the name Jay-Z could seem pretty popular amongst many rappers or people who have a thing for the rap and music industry, it wasn't always like this. And, of course, the birth-giving name of this artiste is far from being Jay-Z. Jay-Z is the sobriquet known to Shawn Corey Carter, born on December 4, 1969, in Brooklyn. While the name Jay-Z, or Jazzy as it was once known, seems like a general name, the start out was far from rosy. Many would term the story as a story of how one man beat the odds and believed in himself, a story of knowing how to work and empathize with others to achieve the common big goals in view. As a young kid living in Brooklyn, Shawn Corey Carter was plagued with many demons he never held back on singing about in his rap mix and songs. His troubles began with his family being abandoned by his father at the age of 11, being made to suffer trauma from his teenage years through adulthood. Unlike many rappers who make references to the ghetto and a harrowing childhood to make out relatable lyrics, Jay-Z is arguably one of the few artists that have explained the intermingled feelings of pain, anger, reclusiveness, and responsibility that weighed him down in some of his hit songs like Can't Knock the Hustle and This Life Forever. But of course, while the trauma of daddy issues trails his fight to stardom, these are not the only recognizable features. While it might seem impossible to believe at this moment, Jay-Z once upon a time had a field day dealing with cracks to make ends meet. Although he claims to have never touched the stock, perhaps a resolution from seeing what crack did to the person he sold to and the two male authorities in his younger years, he was quite a good salesman from the onset. This, in a way, explains how he has been able to keep afloat in the business world. But just before his career years in the music industry and the business world, Shawn Corey Carter was enrolled in George Westinghouse Career and Technical Education High School. George Westinghouse Career and Technical Education High School was a public school located in the heart of Brooklyn. It was in the hallways of this Brooklyn public school that Jay-Z would recognize the passion he had for rapping. Coincidentally, at the same time, he walked the hallways of that high school and did three other notable rappers the world has ever seen. This includes the likes of the Notorious B.I.G., Busta Rhymes, and DMX. The unavoidable career breakthrough. Before a career breakthrough, Jay-Z was a drug dealer who saw his passion while making rhymes in the hallway alongside fellow students. It is said that prior to 1989, Shawn wanted out from the dealing drugs escapade, a clean escape from drugs, shootouts, and poverty of the Marcy Projects. In music that he did in the hallways of his public high school, he found his way out. In 1989, he joined up with an older and slightly popular rapper named Jonathan Jay-Z Burks, seeking that Jay-Z shows him the ropes of rapping and the music entertainment world by mentoring him. Together, they rapped the lines of the song The Originators, which was the beginning of a music-filled life. If there is one thing associated with Jay-Z's music, it is that it is related to the community. This is one of the edges he has had in the music industry over other rappers of similar talent, a skill he earned during his days of hustling with drugs. The song with Jay-Z was welcome, but there isn't a single rapper who has made waves from just one collaboration project. Shawn got into the studio and sold his CDs from the back of his car. Parking his car outside a popular hot dog joint on the intersection of 8th Street and 6th Avenue, Jay-Z and his friends would blast his music from the car stereo. When people came by and asked who was rapping, Jay-Z sold them custom CDs right out of the trunk. In retrospect, this seems beneath the standard and respect he has garnered for his name, but this was where it all began. At this time, his street name was yet to be determined, and he knew for a fact that he needed something that would relate to his person while keeping the reference to his background. Shawn decided he needed a new name. As a kid, he'd earned the nickname Jazzy, and combining this nostalgic label with his mentor's pseudonym, he started calling himself Jay-Z, a title that also harkened back to the J/Z subway station near his home. It was a win in his eyes and a win for his soon-coming fans. However, his break into the limelight is associated with collaborations with Kareem and Damon, all three of whom would become the founding members of their independent record label, Roc-A-Fella Records. His first debut album, which he called Reasonable Doubt, was released in 1996, and it is widely considered one of music's most remarkable albums ever created, but it was not until Volume 2 of the album titled Hard Knock Life, released in 2001, that the audience begins to fall in line and in love with the sound and music he gave. The history of love and how Cupid stuck by him. In an episode of Next Chapter, Beyoncé told Oprah in 2013, "I would not be the woman I am if I did not go home to that man. It just gives me such a foundation." The love story between successful career people has been filled with intense envy and admiration from fans and colleagues in the shared industry. With a 12-year difference in age between both parties, the bond and love shared by both parties seemed to take foremost authority continually. While they had remained friends for a long time, the couple tied the knot secretly in 2008 before welcoming their first child, Blue Ivy, in 2012 and her twin siblings in 2017. Despite the drama that has trailed the couple, such as the infamous elevator quarrel where Beyoncé had reportedly struck in the elevator of the Standard Hotel after attending the Met Gala, and the infidelity charge brought against Jay-Z, the couple has proven to be one of the oldest and evergreen in the entertainment industry. That one time, it all almost went to naught. The highlight of Jay-Z's rise to fame was in the late 1990s when he released his debut album and was beginning to get favor from young and older generation fans of rap. But all of this was bound to be lost in 1999. As of 1999, he was not just a rapper or a musician. Jay-Z was already a successful entrepreneur and businessman with an established name brand, commanding respect amongst many. Then came the end of 1999 and the Kit Kat Club Manhattan Party. On November 30th, 1999, Q-Tip released Amplified and decided to throw a party at the Kit Kat Club in Manhattan 2 days after the release to commemorate. Jay hosted a listening party for his next album, Volume 3, Life and Times of S. Carter, at Irving Plaza before he arrived at Q Party. It should have been a night to rejoice, but there was a problem. Volume 3 wasn't due for sale until December 28th, but bootleggers had already obtained the record by leaking it a month beforehand. By the night's end, Jay-Z was charged with stabbing a record executive named Lance Rivera, reportedly because he believed Rivera was the one who'd bootlegged his album. It's generally accepted that uncooperated and told police who his attacker was, Shawn Jay-Z Carter. Carter would then present himself to the Manhattan NYPD Midtown South Precinct, where he was processed and arrested for felony second-degree assault. With a $50,000 bail, he was released. While his managing team was quick to host a conference to declare him innocent of the charges that had been brought up against him, Jay was quick to realize how badly the scandal could destroy his already growing name. To salvage the situation, he ended up pleading guilty to the criminal charges despite standing at the risk of facing 15 years behind bars. In the end, he was let off the hook with a 3-month probation sentence. Where he stands today as a business tycoon. After the incident almost cost Jay-Z his already blossoming career, he put his head back into the game and released another album that would receive wide acceptance from fans. The album titled The Blueprint came out in 2001 and is considered one of the top releases of the decade, but by 2003, when many believed Jay-Z to be at the height of his fame, he announced his untimely and unforeseen retirement from making music. The only reason he considered, given those who bothered to ask, was that he'd gotten bored as none of the competition could keep up with him. Egoistic? Maybe slightly. But he was right about one thing: people were into his sound. He released the Black Album as his last solo piece, then stopped making music until 2006, when he came back with a new sound, new ideas, and a new focus on edgy social topics like Hurricane Katrina. Of course, he did retire from making music. But he was not out for long. And his off period was invested in making a name for himself in the business world. Starting from 1999, when he founded the clothing retailer Roc-A-Fella, his involvement in entrepreneurship grew considerably over the years. He signed future stars such as Rihanna and assisted Kanye West in his transition from producer to the major artist after becoming president of Def Jam Recordings. Meanwhile, he founded the luxury sports bar chain 4040 Club in 2003 and became a minority owner of the New Jersey Nets basketball team in 2004. By 2008, he had used his Def Jam contacts to launch his massive entertainment company Roc Nation. In 2015, he purchased the tech firm Aspiro and became CEO of their media streaming service, Tidal. In 2020, he launched his most recent business deal, Monogram, a cannabis product line. With over 140 million records sold, Jay-Z is one of the world's best-selling music artists. He has won 24 Grammy Awards, a record he shares with Kanye West. Jay-Z also holds the record for a solo artist's most Billboard 200 #1 albums. He has also received the NAACP President's Award, a Primetime Emmy Award, and a Sports Emmy Award, and he has been nominated for a Tony Award. Jay-Z was named one of the 100 greatest artists of all time by Billboard and Rolling Stone, and he was the first rapper to be inducted into the Songwriters Hall of Fame and the first solo living rapper to be inducted into the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. Today, the young teenager who got himself entwined with dealing drugs before finding his passion in music and, consequently, business is worth not a single penny less than $1 billion while nurturing his relationship and family life with his wife, Beyoncé, and his kids, Blue Ivy, Sir, and Rumi.